Do you know how the orcs first came into being? They were elves once.
Kelly, Stephen.
Can't help but notice that your conversations with Lurt seem to consist of you asking him questions, then just answering them because he hasn't said anything in response.
He was a loyal soldier, but a terrible conversationalist.
How often did you try to chat to him?
I didn't have anyone else to talk to anymore, so I'd often invite him up to my room for tea. But he'd just stand there staring at the wall and snarling. It was incredibly awkward.
Sounds excruciating.
Do you know how the orcs came into being? It really was a last-ditched attempt to get some decent chat going. If you could only eat food of one color, which color would you choose? Who would win in a fight between the exhibits at the Science Museum and the exhibits at the Natural History Museum? Have you ever been to Disney World? Imagine how much awkward small talk you'd have to get through to get to the point where you have to ask them if they'd be interested to know the origin of their own species.
Well, maybe having to make small talk with orcs all day is the price you pay for throwing your lot in with the Dark Lord, Saruman. We could have talked about anything you wanted if you hadn't betrayed me. And my answers would have been yellow, by the way. A Natural History Museum. Hands down. They have a T-Rex.
The Science Museum has a nuclear bomb.
Check and made.
You see, it's a good question.
Taken by the dark powers. Tortured and mutilated.
A terrible form of life. Never should have moved in together.
Now, perfected.
How did you perfect them?
But I bred orcs with goblin men.
Isn't that cruel on the orc? Like pugs?
It's less cruel than breeding a cockapoo.
There's no need to be coarse.
My fighting Uruk-hai.
What does Uruk-hai mean?
It means orc folk in the black speak.
That's what you called them. Orc folk.
It's a good name.
Not very imaginative.
Oh, I'm sorry. What would you have called them then?
I don't know. Something more creative. The big bug boys.
The big bugs boys.
I just think that breeding your own race of orcs and then calling them orc folk is a bit rubbish. Bob Dylan could just about get away with that name for a new album. If I bred a new race of elves and then just called them elf guys, I'd feel like I'd slightly dropped the ball on the name, that's all.
So you would call them the big bugs boys?
Yeah, that was just my first one. Something better would have come up.
Whom do you serve? Saruman.
First thing you said all day. Real relief. Finally broke the ice.
Any particular reason for the white hands, Saruman?
Oh, not this again.
But how many gallons of paint do you think would do the faces of a 10,000 strong army?
Doing their entire faces.
That was my intention. My name is Saruman the White, you see. So I want to paint their faces white, so everybody knows it's my army.
You're gonna struggle to paint 10,000 faces white on a budget of £500. Can you maybe scale things back a bit? Just paint part of the faces.
Could I paint 10,000 hands on 500 pounds?
It'll be tight, but I think I could sort a discount for you that just make that possible if you've got small hands.
Well then, we'll do that.
You do not know pain, you do not know fear.
Why even mention them then?
What do you mean?
If you've bred them to not feel pain or fear, surely the best course of action is to not mention those concepts, so they remain completely alien to them. If you introduce them to the abstract concepts of pain and fear, but then tell them, oh, don't feel that, though, I mean, you're sort of making a rod for your own back, aren't you? That's a good point. They might be thinking, well, first I didn't feel pain or fear, but now you told me that some things can be scary and painful. I'm scared.
Bring them to me alive and unspoiled.
In what way were you worried they would spoil him?
They might buy him unearned gifts, or give him sugary sweets that would rot his teeth, or eat his legs.
May these cloaks help shield you from unfriendly eyes.
You keep gulping, Boromir. Lighten up.
How many did you eat? 4.
Not having that one. Eating a month's worth of supplies for breakfast. 12-0.
Not cool. What happened to a bit of privacy?
Aragorn, you're basically a personal investigator.
Do not fear, young Peregrine Took. You will find your courage.
Hush. Don't worry, you big coward. Here's a knife.
Have you run out of those nice shiny daggers?
Ungrateful little nasty hobbitses.
It's just... can't stab no one with no rope.
Well, you just have to get creative, won't you? This is for my old gaffer. You know, just that's what war's about, isn't it?
I have nothing greater to give than the gift you already bear.
What do you get the kid who has everything?
I think she just forgot I was there.
And what did you want?
Or to fall into darkness with all that is left of your kin. I give you the light of Erendir.
Who's got the better magic that basically amounts to lights going on and off? You or Galadriel? It's completely different. I can make light come out of my staff, whereas Galadriel makes light come out of her little bottle. Magic takes many different forms.
For one hair from her golden head. She gave me 3.
Jeepers, Gimli. I ask it from everyone. Every Durin's Day, all I want is hair. You fancier. You've got Galadriel fever. Well, the kissing disease. Well, that was awkward.
You know when you make eye contact with someone on the bus?
But with elvish eyesight, that must happen all the time.
I will not leave the ring within 100 leagues of your city.
Why not?
Because it would corrupt the hearts of men.
We could have set a rule. No one can have the ring. And then burrowed under Mordor, like moles.
Shut up, Boromir. For once, I agree with Boromir.
What?
Really?
No, obviously not. It's somehow worse than the eagle's idea.
Long have I desired to look upon the kings of old. My kin.
Nobody was stopping you.
No, but I'd been busy.
You'd spent a few decades just wandering around in the wilderness, hadn't you? Surely you could have just gone and had a look at them. Any time you wanted. Bring a picnic. Make a day of it.
Yeah, but you know how it is. Life just gets in the way.
You've got to book these things in the diary or they never happen. June 12th, go see the Argonath. Bring sandwiches. It's as simple as that.